This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
For a season that began in December 2018 at Lime Rock Park, we've traveled the various virtual continents in the world and are now ready to conclude our 2019 campaign. Welcome to the Suzuka International Racing Course, located in Japan between the cities of Hamamatsu, Nagoya, Kyoto, and Osaka. Today it hosts the 12th and final round of the Skip Barber 2K World Cup for 2019, with all coverage on RaceSpot TV, streaming live on the iRacing Esports Network around this 5.7 kilometer, 3.5 mile circuit, depending on your units of choice. It's a figure of 8 layout, so neither clockwise or anti-clockwise, but 18 turns out there. As we're using the full course, a bit different to what they're using for the official series this week. They're using the West course for that, so do not get confused as we race for 14 laps around this circuit in just a moment's time. We're currently in qualifying at the moment. No times have been set. These drivers are allowed 1 lap as per usual. From myself, Jonathan Simon in the commentary booth, Randy Cheneth in production, and Gary Weaver, you are stood alongside me in the commentary box. And of course, 1 lap in qualifying is going to be tough for these guys. They're going to have to nail it around one of the most challenging circuits on the planet.
Yeah, this 1 lap is going to be very crucial, and the fact that it just looks narrow, but it's definitely with all the curbing here, as we see an onboard lap here with Greg Zietz. He is definitely going to be trying to do whatever he can. Pretty much everybody trying to do whatever they can to get this lap and work around this course with, well, like you mentioned, the 18 turns.
Yep, exactly. This is the American on screen, as Gary just said, and he's through the hairpin, otherwise unofficially known as Kobayashi Corner. I'm coining it as that. But Gary, today the championship can also be wrapped up. We're looking at the GOAT of Skip Barber, Philippe Lebar. There are the points up on screen. And he's pretty much got it over Greg. You know, he just needs to finish and claim a good haul of consistent points out there.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Philippe Lebar is he's done an amazing job. Same with Greg Zietz. Those two have been pretty much going at it for a while over in the past few races that we have done. So it's very amazing to see how much dedication that these two have, especially with Greg Zietz. He's, of course, still here, of course, and, well, we're going to see how both of their qualifying times will stack up against each other here, I believe, just coming off this final corner.
Yeah, they're very close to each other in this solo qualifying session. Of course, you won't be able to see each other out there on the racetrack virtually, just to avoid any traffic issues. That's why we have these sessions. This is Leibert across the line for the first time, and the session ticking down to 0. Leibert on provisional pole with a 23.4, a 10th quicker than Greg Zietz. That is the qualifying session done and dusted. That was an extremely quick session. I'm surprised anyone was able to get a time in, but let's have a look. Let's have a look at your grid for today's event. So Leibert, our championship challenger, looking to claim that with a race victory here today in style. He starts from pole alongside his championship rival of Greg Zietz. The rest of the grid will be on screen. It includes Anthony Catt, Diogo Francisco on the second row. Not many drivers being able to set a time. You'll see Andrea Aymon and James McRitchie round out the top 8. But Gary, that's been the issue for the likes of Arjan de Friede, starting from 9th, who spun in qualifying. And with such a limited time, it was comically not able to get a time in himself.
Yeah, and I believe even Simon Edwards actually was just barely short of getting a qualifying time in. So more than half the field barely did not get a qualifying time in, or actually did not. So that's going to be that could show how talented that these top 8 drivers are for this race.
Yep, the race, of course, will be 14 laps. Yep, you can see the drivers taking to the grid. It is a narrow run down to turn number 1, Gary, and we've seen some incidents at this circuit in the past. What's the best way to manage it?
Definitely take your time onto the corner entry, because I'm looking at this right now, and well, it's going to definitely narrow itself down like you mentioned. And with the little bit of an outer sweep into that second right-hand turn, that's going to be a little bit of a challenge for these drivers to navigate.
We're expecting 1 pit stop today, of course, so that will be between around lap 6 or 8. Lap 6 and 8. So take note of that, of course. This start is going to be ever important, but strategy will come into play, of course, as well. We talked about Suzuka having 40 meters of elevation change, but it's got a long run down to turn 1. We go green for 14 laps of action. Labor, brilliant start from him. Seats will form up behind, but have a look at Diogo Francisco from the second row, trying to make a move on Anthony Catt. There's no way through for the outside for Anthony Catt, and he will remain alongside Francisco here in the battle for P3.
So far, so good, as it looks like everyone managed to get themselves single file for the most part. It's a little bit of shuffling in the back, and right when I say that, everyone looks to be actually single file now, maybe jostling around for position, but that definitely went a lot better than I expected. And while you mentioned Diego Francisco and Anthony Catt, well, they are, in this case, 4th and 3rd, respectively. Francisco in 4th, Catt in 3rd.
Yep, through the Dunlop curve for the first time. This is such a thrilling corner. And that brilliant Ferris wheel in the background, of course. Through the Degner curve for the first time. This could be a challenge. We saw Labor getting a bit tail happy on the entry through Degner 1. But they'll head to the hairpin now for the first time on this first lap. And it looks like, unless anyone tries to send a low jump here into the hairpin, it doesn't look like many position changes occurred on that first lap.
And not many whatsoever, and a few drivers on that corner that you mentioned did have a little bit of a wild moment there. As you mentioned, Lebert did get a little bit of tail happy, but McRitchie had a little bit of a bigger off, but he just managed to save it. A little bit squirrely on the save, but amazing job while he did lose a few positions.
Yeah, exactly it. So, whilst they head through Spoon Curve right now, this is so difficult. This next left-hander, it's off camber. So easy to miss the apex of the corner, run out wide on the exit. This is another pit stretch, of course, as well, when they use this portion of the racetrack for national racing or club racing. And look at the mad scrambling Skip Barbers behind as they scream through 130R. And Ayanda Frida getting, you saw him pushing close to the curb there, and then they'll break for the Casio Triangle for the first time. But look at Labor right now, looking to claim a championship, but already under attack by his rival for P1.
And it took a little bit of time, but that slipstream is definitely going to help out as well. It looks like we'll be going 3 wide down the front straightaway. Definitely enough space to do so, as it's going to be Zeitz stuck in the middle, Cat on the right-hand side. Well, actually, he'll decide to back out of that. Very smart move, as he will let Zeitz and let Bear battle it out, as Zeitz actually gets by up to first place.
Yeah, very, very rational by Anthony Catt. I was really gunning for him, hoping that he would, claim that first position. But you root for somebody else at the end of the day reclaims the lead, and that's Greg Seitz. You know, he may not claim the championship today, but at least end with some pride, and he's doing exactly that. Here's the left-hander of Dunlop. And again, you know, I've been sim racing for many years, Gary, and I always seem to end up into the wall on the right-hand side. It's so difficult through Dunlop Curve.
And corner definitely looks very difficult. I personally have never had any experience at this racetrack, but it's definitely fun to see what kind of in a sense, a very unique circuit that this is, and seeing these little Skip Barbers manage, or at least make their way around here, just trying to figure out. There's definitely a lot more space as compared to using other vehicles here at this track. So with these smaller cars, you can definitely make some things work at some point if you decide to do so.
And of course, we know in Skip Barber, the slipstream, draft, the hole in the air that's punched through by the driver ahead. That is ever so critical right now, because I don't think you're going to be able to separate your top 6 group. Now become a top 7 as Iman joins the fray. Now, oh, spinner behind, I think. That's Tuan Tran through Spoon Curve.
Barely managed to save it. He did get a piece of the curve, one wide, and oh yeah, it looks like the grip on the right tires just did not decide to stay. But P1 is under fire as Greg Zietz is actually falling back to second place. So Felipe Lebert manages to get his way by with that slipstream.
Around the outside of 130R, gets his way by with style, does Felipe Lebert. That's why he's the GOAT of Skip Barbers. 7K I rating for a reason, and he just has been a multiple champion at Skip Barber in the Skip Barber 2K World Cup for many seasons for a reason. Here is a repeat battle for the lead. We ride on board with Greg Zietz here. We're looking for the rear end of him. He's in the second position. But Anthony Catt, no way through for him into the top 2 right now. Pushing a bit hard is Greg Zietz, you know. This is such a challenging corner through turn number 1 and 2. You're almost sort of trail braking through 1. And then the exit through 2 is the critical one to get this long momentum into the S's.
And if you're directly behind somebody as well, that slipstream could play into effect if you do have enough speed and momentum to really keep that momentum going. So you might somehow be able to find yourself behind that driver in front of you, or at least a little bit closer if you are lucky enough. But all the different strategies and styles that some of these drivers could have are definitely being utilized here.
And it's been a long weekend of racing, so thanks to all you viewers for joining us, of course, as well. Join in the conversation in the comment section. If you see anything interesting, of course, strategy will come into play between laps 6 and 8, as these drivers will have to make a pit stop, we're hearing word. And that will mean that this could shuffle up the order quite a bit. And that means, Gary, that they will need to practice that pit entry, practice the exit, because that could be some time to gain there and time to minimize if you do end up losing any.
That time is definitely crucial, especially under these kind of races where there's pretty much no full course cautions, only locals. So with that being said, the pit entry and the pit exit definitely crucial. And that's like you mentioned, also playing into effect that you have to practice pit entry at least a few times just so you know what you're doing, what to do, what not to do. And with the slipstream, could definitely play into effect, as Greg Zietz has shown off right there down that straightaway, goes right by Felipe Lebert using that slipstream to its advantage. Anthony Catt could be doing the same thing here.
This is going to be close into the Casio Triangle. Turn 16, 17, and then 18, the final corner here around this figure of 8 layout of Suzuka. But Catt's got to go for it, you have to say, Gary, right? I mean, he's just hanging back in third, unless he has a joker up his sleeve. I can't really see much else going on. Let's ride on board with him and see what happens through turn 1. What do you think? There's no way through for him.
Yeah, there's really nothing you can do, but this might help him out, though, in the long run if he does decide to stay behind both Lebert and Zietz and then not push until the second half of the race after pit stops. But at the same time, there's really nothing he can do, even if he is in this situation. So he might be sitting back and waiting to figure out what places are open, what can be utilized there in that first few corners.
Yeah, exactly. This is so fun to watch here through Dunlop Curve. Through Degner 1. I remember in Formula 1 here in 2009 for the first time. They returned to this circuit for the first time in, I think, 3 years. And we had like 5 incidents in qualifying through the Degner curves. It's that difficult through those 2 right-hand corners there.
It looks like it's not too difficult. Oh, man. Anthony Catt got right on the back bumper of Lebert there in that hairpin turn. That was a little bit too close for comfort just for me, but luckily everyone is still continuing forward for the time being. So, actually with this wide exit, Anthony Catt was just behind Lebert for a moment using that slipstream, but right now he's still just sitting behind watching. But yeah, with the difficulty of those corners, it looks like no one has found that difficulty as of yet. They're possibly finding that very easy to navigate.
Yeah, 100%. This is Anthony Cat running wide onto the curb. I talked about that earlier. That can easily end your race. But how about Philippe Leber? 2 passes around the outside at 130R. Let's do it. Oh, and bring Anthony Cat with you. Why not? I think they form up right now. And that will mean Anthony Cat will remain in 3rd. Now, I had a special camera to the side. Gary, I was able to see Anthony Cat's onboard perspective, and he backed off the throttle for sure. He's just waiting his, playing the patient game, biding his time in that 3rd position. But here's an awesome run out of the final corner.
And this is definitely going to play. Yep, there he goes. Now he's finally got some space, and he can get direct well. Right when I say that, Philippe Leber goes directly in front of Greg Zietz. I was about to say Cat could use the leader's slipstream to his advantage, but, well, that didn't happen. And unfortunately, he'll stay in 3rd still. So with that move to the left-hand side off the corner, I'm pretty sure that now he's gotten a little bit more comfortable. And he's starting to figure out what he can do, but it's just not really working out for him for the time being.
And these cars are one of the few to have the version 7 tire model in iRacing. They were able to trial it last season, and I believe will be one of the few cars to have the new damage model, maybe the only car. Might need confirmation from that from Randy Chen if he knows behind the scenes. And that's correct. So 6 other cars will have the new tire model. One of them, of course, being my beloved Dallara F3, which I love to drive. But of course, Skip Barber, one of the new cars. Not one of the new cars. It's been around iRacing for an eternity. But it's good to see, Gary, that this car is still being used and provided a lot of support, despite being on iRacing, I think, for a decade now.
I mean, that's just pure dedication at this point. I mean, seeing a new damage model on this car next season is going to be, I believe it's next season. It's going to be very, very exciting to see. So I'm really looking forward to seeing. Yeah, so it is next season. I'm just really excited. So I thought it was going to be in December for a second, but yeah, seeing this coming up in 3 days essentially. Yeah. I am going to be seeing to. I wonder how tire contacts could work, because that's going to be a pure showmanship of, well, either your race is definitely over if you knock off a tire. Then in that case, you definitely have to be very, very conservative in these races.
I flew back this morning from another event I was broadcasting at, and I was reading the release notes. And then, as we see Seats go around the outside of Leber here for the lead, I think Leber's just let him through there.
Yep.
But the thing I saw, I was like so excited to get home, update iRacing, and be like, yeah, I'm going to be able to try the new time model. I went back to iRacing and realized it's still week 12, man. There's still another few days to go. I was so disappointed.
The bright side's even closer now, so that's going to be the first thing I'm doing. As looks like we actually do have the list of which cars specifically are getting the new version 7 tire model. As this time by, we should be seeing some drivers head to pit road. That's our next.
Would you though, Gary? Because you don't want to lose that draft. If I'm Philippe Leber, I pretty much copy Greg Zietz at the moment. You know, I know in other forms of racing, you'll see drivers, maybe such as Formula One, look to opt to do the opposite to the driver ahead. But in this form of open wheel racing, the draft is everything.
Yeah, this thing, I mean, I wouldn't really pit this lap exactly, but definitely at least waiting until the completion of lap 7. So coming on to complete lap 7, then going to pit road that time is what I would do. That way you have an even 7-lap split for the most part. So that's I wouldn't really head to pit road early on unless I really had to.
And for the fuel these guys have on board, they're actually lapping quicker than they were in qualifying. That's how much the draft is influencing this race for the moment. Here's Leber there, just trying to open up some air on the inside. You can see he's in that number 2 Skip Barber, and he breaks through Kobayashi corner. Let's just write we don't even need a petition. Let's just someone edit the Wikipedia page for this circuit. put down Kobayashi corner for the hairpin. But nevertheless, Gary, let's see if any of these drivers enter the pit lane for the first time.
You know, it's definitely going to be a little bit of a while, but I'm going to be interested to see if anyone does decide to head pit road. I mean, we've had this top 6 break off for quite a while, and then, well, anything else is just everyone else just has their little group all the way behind them. So we'll see if any of the top 6 decide to head to pit road, as there goes Lebert to the left-hand side, and he'll go up by, and, well, I'm seeing a little bit of a pattern here. That's definitely the place to pass.
Whoa, man, he throws it into 130R. That was saved brilliantly. Amazing car control by Lebert. And I didn't think he was out of control for one instance, you know. That's just, that's how you want to drive these things. And it's good to see that iRacing have simulated this just a little more realistically over the years, you know, with the Skip Barber, because smooth driving in this thing shouldn't be the way to go, you know. You want to be able to throw this car into corners and still be able to save it, much like a Formula Ford in the real world. Here's the battle for the lead yet again between Lebert, Seats, and Cat. But the gap between 1st and 10th here, 4.9 seconds. So even James McRitchie in the 10th position, coming into this pit stop phase, is placed quite well.
And he's definitely got a little bit of an advantage in a sense, but at the same time, he did have a little bit of a wild moment earlier on in this race. But he's definitely well positioned behind some of these other drivers with the slipstream. At the same time, no one has really gone to pit road yet. I was looking at the pit entry the entire time. No one went to pit road, so this time by could be the time that we see somebody head to pit road. But I don't know. Everyone may try to stretch it out.
Yeah, I don't think you would. There's Simon Edwards there, who's 6th in the lead group. And then this is sort of your, not really a peloton, this second lead group. And they are a group of 4 from 7th to 10th. Everybody in your top 6 has not changed from their starting position. From Lebert to Seats to Cat, of course to Francisco, to Gorley, and then Simon Edwards rounding out the top 6. You can see the order at the top of the screen, of course, so you can track that throughout this event. On lap 7 of 14 this afternoon. As they cross the line this time by, it will be 50% of the distance. And good to see that 18 cars began this race. And 18 cars still out there on the racetrack. No DNFs for the moment.
Yeah, it's definitely a very great thing to see, especially for this track where slipstream is kind of interesting, especially with this little bit of a gap that we see as we see the gap behind Lebert as we are riding on board. Looking at Zeetz, you can see how much of the distance closes up, but at the same time, well, he's trying to make a move. Cat tried to make a move, I think, as well, but no movement yet from anybody that time around. Zeetz was a little bit too far back.
Let's go, Greg. Throw it up the inside here. Well, good. Doesn't do that, but it sets up a run for the main straight here at Suzuka. Let's see if anyone dives into the pit lane this time around. Oh, the leaders do! A couple drivers continue. And Lebert and Seats, your championship challengers, drive into the pits. You can see they're joined by a mad scramble of other cars behind. But I think Seats was on the... Lebert was on the limit coming into that downhill braking zone in the pit lane.
Yeah, that was definitely a wild entry for everybody going into those pit stalls and, well, pit entry, I should say. So this is the time that is really crucial for pretty much anybody and everybody. Whoever's, I think Lebert may have a little bit of an advantage. No, actually, no, they are in the same stall. I was saying aiming a little bit of a ways back, but definitely a very, very sizable gap just on the exit from Lebert compared to Seats already.
And that was a brilliant pit stop phase by Philippe Lebert. If he can break the toe from Greg Seats, this race could fall to him. They're currently in 8th and 9th out there on the racetrack. Ayan de Frieda also pitted, and he's gained a bit of time on Greg Seats. So it has to be said, Greg has not had the best of pit phases.
Yeah, definitely not the best, but at the same time, it could not have been the worst. But throughout all this, this is great for Anthony Cat. He's already up in first place.
And so Lebert was 1 second faster than Greg Seats through that pit phase, of course. So maybe he's hit his marks a little bit, Gary. But anywhere else, anything else you can do with iRacing to make your pit stops a little bit more quicker and cleaner?
I'll definitely know where your pit stall is for one, and you just have to be smooth entry, smooth outlet. And well, that's pretty self-explanatory in its own right. You just have to definitely give a little bit of space on entry so you don't rear end somebody. That's also something else that was very, very key.
And this is your lead 4 right now. Anthony Cat elected not to pit. He'll lead a lap. Diogo Francisco wants to lead a lap right now. He claims the provisional lead. as he throws it through 130R right there. Oh, Anthony Katz getting a bit tail happy. And Sacha Gawley looking to possibly jump ahead, of course. That will be a double whammy for Kat. I bet you they'll both dive into the pits. They do. Do all four dive in the pits? Yes, all four dive into the pits. And this will be critical. Oh, that was Francisco almost hit the wall there, and you saw that on screen. That was a brilliant shot. Francisco saved it. Could have been speeding on the entry, so we never know. But there are the pit times at the bottom left-hand side of the screen. Let's track this as your leaders of Leiber and Greg Seitz are only just heading through the Casio Triangle right now.
That was definitely a wild entry for Diego Francisco, but an amazing save. I don't believe he would have gotten a speeding penalty. He did slow down in time. We'll find out. No, he is fine. He did slow down enough just in time. You see the pit stop time, 12.4 seconds.
Oh, this is going to be close. And that's Leiber on screen. You're watching now. Screen through turn number 1. But more importantly, Greg Seitz will form up behind in the 4th position. He is split there by Francisco and Gurley in the 2nd and 3rd positions. This has turned this race upside down.
At this point, this can definitely cement the championship for sure for Philippe Leiber, even though it was already kind of cemented in the first place as of a couple weeks ago. But this one is definitely bringing it in the bag. But it's not just over yet, of course. There are still a few laps for Greg Seitz to definitely make up some time. Same with Anthony Cat. He was just kind of riding there before pit stops had happened. So you might see him back up in the top 3 not too long from now.
So lap 9 of 14. Still plenty of time remaining in this event. Leiber pushing a little bit too wide there at the exit of Degner 2. And he will remain in the lead, but for how much longer after a mistake like that? Will Diogo Francisco possibly move up into the lead? The problem is, though, that I don't think we're going to know the race winner, Gary, until the final lap because of that draft effect.
Yeah, slipstream in the draft here is very, very, in a sense, predictable, but at the same time unpredictable. It just depends. But if we've seen pretty much this portion of the racetrack all the way down to the Casio Triangle, we've seen that this long stretch definitely produce a lot of passes here, and you might be seeing one because Diego Francisco is very, very close, probably about a car length and a half just behind Leiber, so we might see him move down this straightaway.
It's close.
Yeah, it's going to be close if he does decide to make it.
Boom! Oh. I was going to say, you can't even see him. He's tucked in so well behind him. You just couldn't see him, much like you saw Lewis Hamilton in his early days in racing. Leiber a bit erratic there this lap. That's the second time he's been off track. And for him, it's going to leave him vulnerable on this main stretch. We ride on board with him and watch from the rear end of our championship leader, looking to seal this championship at Suzuka this afternoon. All he needs to do is finish, and he should be okay. This is Francisco to lead a lap for the first time, or second time, excuse me.
Very great pass, and well, just like that, already into first place, as Francisco has definitely capitalized on that mistake that Leiber has made, and I think Leiber might be getting a little bit of pressure. I'm not sure. Maybe it's just the weight of the field, of course, as well. But he's definitely he might be off his game here just a little bit with those 2 off tracks that last lap.
And the problem is here, Anthony Kat's fallen out of your top 4 group. But the more they slice and dice, Gary, the more that's going to allow the drivers behind to join the fight for that race win. There's still many laps remaining here. 5 to go, as you can see at the top left-hand side of the screen.
Yeah, still a little bit of time, and as everyone's pretty much known by now, with everyone side by side and not using the not staying single file and using the draft, it's definitely going to slow everybody down, and that could give even a chance of 3 cars to catch up to a 4-car pack. So we'll see if that continues, as moving down to the left-hand side, trying to get back to the lead was Leiber on that exit of the hairpin, but it just did not happen that time around.
For Simon Edwards, though, in the 8th position, he should steal 3rd in the championship, of course, because Greg Seitz will claim 2nd over him, and with Simon Edwards' closest competitor of Andrew Picario not racing, that should allow Edwards to claim that third position. Not really a podium when it comes to the championship, but you could metaphorically say the least that it is. Nevertheless, though, this is your group of 4 that you're watching in the lead. This has been a thrilling battle or race. Leiber, never have I seen 3 passes around the outside of 130R. Thankfully, he makes this before the corner. Have a look behind. Greg Seats going for the inside of 130R. Not often you see that. And he will remain in 4th, rightly so. That was going to be a tough one.
It definitely made a great opportunity at a pass there, but unfortunately it just didn't work out. He's definitely trying everything that he can, and I don't doubt him for that. He's definitely trying to do just whatever he can to at least get back into the top 3, but as for Francisco, he's going to try and do everything that he can to get back up into 1st place. At the start-finish line, though, still 2nd place, so at the moment he's definitely scored in 1st, at least in real time, but he didn't lead a lap as of yet, I don't believe. But on the bright side, he's back in the lead, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see Leiber take the lead back, but he's got a lot of pressure from the 17.
Exactly. The second group you're seeing behind, it's just popping out a shot every now and then, but it's Anthony Cat, Tuan Tran. There's the number 21 of Tuan Tran on screen, who had that earlier moment at Spoon Curve, able to save it, and is still 3 seconds from a race win. Arjan de Friede is last in this line. De Friede had a good pit stop phase, but after they lost the toe of that lead group, they've sort of fallen behind into their own little pack. Simon Edwards is all on his own in the 8th position, and then rounding out the top 10 is a small little group with Andrea Iman, who's been having technical issues all race, and James McRitchie in the 10th position. Crum, Kemp, Dronke, Adams, not Martin Cronky's long-lost brother. Parks in 15. Velez 16th, and then rounding out the field is Cantor and John Morgan. Ronan Griffin did not begin this race, so if you're wondering why I said all 18 cars who began are still out there, it's because that 19th one did not actually technically take the start as we focus back onto your lead group.
And right now it's still Leiber trying to do almost whatever he can within reason, of course, to try and get back into the lead. And right here, we should be seeing that slipstream play into effect one more time, but something different for this race. A little bit of a low line being run by Francisco. He's going to force Leiber to take the right-hand side here down the straightaway.
And much like oval racing, Gary, you know, with 4 to go, if you're Greg Seats 4th in line, you want to put yourself in a good position right now and get yourself up the order, because 4th in a road course is a little bit more difficult to reel in the cars in front.
Yeah, it's very different, especially with, in this case, Suzuka, compared to any, well, pretty much an NASCAR oval track where you have multiple drivers all around you. But with this, where everyone is insanely spread out and constantly passing each other, like right here, as we see Leiber try to defend from Francisco, and look on the very right-hand side.
Yes.
3 wide for the lead.
Yes, it is 3 wide, and it ends with everybody's face, I guess, still content that they're still in this event. That was getting quite hair-raising at one of the most narrow tracks on planet Earth right now. This, of course, built in the 60s by a Dutch designer. Originally a Honda test track, and now laser scanned for iRacing itself. And here, your leaders form up for the moment. It is Diogo Francisco leading yet again. Gurley into the 2nd position. Best he's been placed once everybody's made their pit stops. Leiber in 3rd, Seats in 4th. Wouldn't have expected this so far, but the race is still far from over. And I like where Francisco is positioned for the moment.
Yeah, Francisco may actually have a chance now, but at the moment there's still, well, kind of 3 laps to go. It's going to be 2 at the start-finish line, so 2.5 at this point, give or take a few kilometers and miles. But Francisco, like you mentioned, is in a wonderful position. He had the great idea to run the low line and just continue to use that as his little defensive maneuver, but at the same time, he still got past on the right-hand side, so it may work, but at the same time, we'll just have to wait and see in due time, because Sasha Gorel may actually have a chance here to get into the lead, but Leiber is also bearing down on the back bumper, and Zietz at this point is also just hanging out, just watching this happen.
Not the cleanest of temperatures out there. It's 32 degrees Celsius track temp, so It's not the easiest or hardest of racetracks to drive your way around right now. This is a move for the lead by Sasha Gurley. Labour was trying to make a move, of course, as well. 2 wide through 130R. 3 wide on the entry to the Casio Triangle. They'll have to form up. This track is just way too narrow, fellas. And here they go through the exit. This is an awesome opportunity for Labour to claim the lead. And yes, you're right, Gary. That was very close there on the exit.
Somehow managed to make it. Somehow he didn't. He almost made it 3 wide, and we're almost 2 wide each. And it's going to be, 3 wide, just cutting the nose off of Zietz, who's directly behind everybody here heading into the first corner.
That's Gurley in the middle, though, and he could claim the lead for the first time this afternoon. But what does Labour have to say about that around the outside? They're still going to be alongside each other heading into the S's for the second last time this afternoon. Seats in the back of the pack. Oh, there's no way through for him. He almost lost it off camera. You could tell he ran a bit too deep through the S's. And now here they go into the Dunlop curve. This left-hander. Labour finally confirmed in the lead here on the penultimate lap, with Gurley and Francisco alongside each other behind.
And throughout all this, Greg Zietz is just sitting back, not exactly watching. He did try to make a move on the first corner entry, but at the same time, it's not like he really could have done anything. They were 3 wide, as we see the second pack has actually caught up now to the first lead pack. This could be an interesting battle for the lead here.
Yep, any incidents, of course, so the more they shuffle, slice and dice, tussle, get a little argy-bargy, the more it's going to reel in Tuan Tran, Anthony Cat, Ayanda Frida behind. They have joined this scrap, and it's become a 7-horse race for the lead right now, with Philippe Labour up ahead. He will most certainly win another championship here for season 2019 of the 2K World Cup on iRacing. But for himself, will he do it in style with a race win? I really don't know who to tip at the moment, Gary. I think anyone in your top 7 is placed quite well. Maybe not the Frida, but certainly Anthony Cat and Tuan Tran look good in that second group to come in and join the scraps.
Now we have Francisco and, well, maybe 3 wide.
Oh,
yep,
3 wide.
This may not work. Oh my gosh, it somehow worked, and throughout all that, Greg Zietz has slipped. Actually, no, Sasha Gurley has slipped their way through on the right-hand side. Greg Zietz up to 3rd.
For the first time in my life, I've never seen 3 wide at 130R, and you just witnessed it, ladies and gentlemen. That was remarkable. And these Skip Barbers produce racing like that. White flag, 1 lap to go here from Suzuka, and Labour has been given just a fresh breath of air. But Gurley is ready to pounce right now. Here's Tuan Tran, of course, made up 3 positions through 130R, of course, as they all, well, basically, I'm assuming, had a slight bit of a visit to the toilets in the cockpit through there, and he's in the 4th position for the moment. Ayanda Frida in 5th. Francisco now demoted to 6th. Remember, I thought he was positioned well to win this race, Gary. Not even in the top 5.
Yeah, he instantly got shuffled out just like that, and, well, it's going to be, at this point, it might just be between Labour and Sasha Gurley, unless Greg Zietz can capitalize and get the slipstream as much as possible if those two go side by side a lot. But I don't know, this could be a chance for Sasha Gurley to make a pass for the lead. They're in prime position.
Sasha Gurley pushing a little too deep through the exit there. You saw him miss the apex, but he looks okay here on the exit. Not using the draft of Philippe Labour. That's some veteran tactics there, Gary, just breaking that toe.
That's good to sometimes not constantly get that slipstream, but now with that kind of an exit, that was perfect, I believe. Just enough to get a good enough run with the slipstream here, but I don't know, it's going to be close, that's for sure. But that 17 is staying right in those tire tracks for the most part.
Philippe Labour, as we know, will be champion at the end of this lap. Well, if he finishes the race, and even if he does, I'm pretty sure he'll claim a good haul of points as he'll be classified. He's completed 90% of the distance. This is Gurley, though, behind, who wants to claim a race victory for himself. Sasha Gurley versus Philippe Labour for the win. Greg Zietz also placed well to pick up the pieces. Gurley for the lead up the inside into 130R. He's got track position. Leiber has all the skill around the outside. Greg Seats around the outside here, making it 3 wide. Who's going to win the final round of the Skip Barber 2K World Cup? It could potentially be Greg Seats. It's going to be a drag race to the line. Leiber looking for the outside here, but that is one of the most thrilling passes for a race win I have ever seen. Greg Seats, victor of round number 12 of the Skip Barber 2K World Cup. Oh, what a finish.
I can't even, wow, that took a while to process. That's, oh my goodness. Greg Seats even has tires just barely in the grass and making that attempt, but that margin for victory was a 0.078 seconds at the start-finish line. An amazing pass. I thought they were going to make contact, and somehow, some way, they managed to make a clean and exciting finish throughout all of that.
Well, here's Greg Seats, your winner, of course, on screen. I mean, that was remarkable. And this is a replay of his final lap as we're watching. For the moment, though, Philippe Leiber is crowned champion despite finishing second. And, I'm out of breath, man. I'm out of breath. Well, let's talk through this, Gary, for the moment. You can see Seats is heading through the S's for the moment, and he is not even close here. It all happened through 130R towards the end of the lap.
It just happened way too quickly, but that's the best kind. Oh my goodness, that was just the gap between here and then compared to the second half of this racetrack is absolutely impressive. So he's definitely trying to do pretty much whatever he can, and I think what could have happened is that with Sasha Grohl breaking, yeah, there's the advantage that you see right there with those slightly wide exits. Greg Seats definitely had it here at this point. Just a little bit of that draft.
So let's follow this all the way down to the checkered flag. And believe it or not, if you're just tuning in, you just missed one of the best events I've seen in the Skip Barber 2K World Cup. And of course, Greg Seats right now, believe it or not, this is the final lap. He's in third. Hey, he won the race. And he seals second in the championship behind Philippe Leiber, who's currently leading this train. But Philippe Leiber, crowned champion at the end of this event. They were split here by Sasha Gurley, who's in between them. And then this is where it all heats up, Gary, through these next few corners.
Yeah, right here is definitely the prime place for pretty much any drafting and any passing opportunity here in these cars. And, well, with that being said, goes right into this corner, and you can see just right there, he sees an opening, and look at that. Tires in the grass, and he somehow makes it stick.
Ryan Hunter-Ray for you. Pass in the grass, that has to be said. This time on the final lap. Oh, and there was a spinner behind, so I missed that. Was that Tuan Tran?
I believe so. I'll take a double check at that as well, but I believe that was. Even I didn't notice that initially, but that was, wow. And that spinner was, that spinner was a 21, Tuan Tran.
Yeah, Tuan Tran there. Again, not sure if he was collected by anyone behind, but nevertheless, though, we will speak to not only your second place finisher, but confirmed champion for season 2019 of the Skip Barber 2K World Cup, Philippe Leiber. What a race that was, mate. I'm out of breath at the moment, but for yourself, you're probably out of breath from a long campaign here. It's been 9 months since the championship began. How does it feel to be crowned champion yet again?
Well, it was already in the bag, so the pressure was off, which made for some great racing, as you could see. It was the craziest finish I can remember in a long time, maybe the greatest finish ever. It was such an awesome battle with Sasha and my two teammates. It was just incredible.
Does this mean you guys are going to lock in Suzuka for every single season of Skip Barber 2K World Cup for the rest of its eternity?
Well, we can't make that decision because it's based on the iRacing schedule, but it sure is one of the top tracks for racing and the skipping. It's just incredible. Well, I just can't stop talking about it.
The finish, though, was incredible. Do you think you could have done anything differently to claim the win? We saw you pull out of the draft at the last second, but, I mean, the move was all made through 130R by Greg Seats. You know, he just went I've never seen 3 wide through 130R, by the way. I've never seen more passes through 130R by you. But at the end of the day, I'm surprised you even came second. You know, I felt like you deserved a victory there.
I think everyone deserved it. It was we were evenly matched, and it was incredible how clean everyone was in those last few corners. 130R on the outside is very frightening, and yeah, you could see I could hardly keep it on the track, but then Greg made use of that, and he was very clever taking the outside because he knew he was going to be on the inside for the chicane, for the second part of the chicane. So it was an extremely smart move, and he deserves it more than anyone.
And one more thing, of course, as well. This car using the version 7 tire model, it's been an interesting season for Skip Barber doing that for the first time. And it's been exciting, of course. The car behaves a little bit better as well, I think. But more importantly, the new damage model coming to this car next season. Not that you're going to be spending a lot of time in the barriers and into other cars, but surely we'll make this car a little bit more immersive. And like we discussed on the broadcast, always good to see iRacing supporting a car that's been on the service for over a decade.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what that does to the broadcast, because it's going to make a lot of difference with parts flying all over the place, and we see quite a lot of car contact in the skippies. So I think it's the perfect car to get started with the new damage model.
Finally, anybody you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank our league sponsor, DES Simulation. They've been supporting us for quite a while now. And of course, all the drivers who participated. It's an incredible field every week, and I hope it will continue like that. So season 14 is starting in 2 weeks, so looking forward to that. And of course, congratulations to Greg for his excellent win today and his challenge for the championship this season.
So that was your champion, Philippe Leber. Thanks for the interview, mate. And we'll let you go, of course, and hopefully see you in a couple of weeks' time for the new season of the Skip Barber 2K World Cup. But your race winner today was Greg Seitz, who locks in second in the championship, Gary, and he has stood alongside you.
And Greg Seitz with an amazing pass, an amazing race in general, but definitely the most talked about thing is that pass out of 130 yards. Somehow, some way, you managed to make that 3-wide pass work while simultaneously getting in the grass just for a little bit, but that traction had just kept for you. So, why don't just talk us through your race, and especially that last lap.
Yeah, first I have to say, woohoo! My heart's still beating. So, yeah, I knew. Well, I had to pass Diogo earlier, and to get in position to be able to have any hope on the last lap, because I knew once Sasha and Philippe were kind of side by side, there would be a really small window where they had to slow down, obviously. And really it was a factor of just trying to time the entry into 130R and back off just enough so I could get a much better run than those guys. And then, yeah, as you said, I caught a little bit of grass. So I was like, I ran out of room there, and I was really worried, so I just tried to keep over. And luckily, Sasha gave me just enough room to stay there. And then really it was just a matter of seeing who could go deepest into the chicane.
I mean, I'll be honest, I thought you guys were actually going to all make contact there, but luckily that didn't happen, and that provided for one of the best finishes that I've personally seen here at Suzuka. So before we go ahead and I'll let you go, anyone that you'd like to give a shout out or thank for your win here tonight?
Yeah, my whole team, everybody on the team has just been great. We practice a lot together, and we share our laps, and so we tend to try to improve together. And this week was tough because we were on the West Circuit, and so it was nobody really got to run this circuit during the week. So I thought there would be some surprises, and there kind of were. But yeah, anyway, just my team and you guys for broadcasting, and yeah, it's been a great season. I'm really happy where I ended up.
I definitely thank you for your time, and congratulations again on your first place win here tonight at Suzuka.
Yeah, thanks so much.
So that was Greg Seitz, finished second in the championship, finished first today in our race at Suzuka. Let's have a look at your final race results before we take off for the final time here on the iRacing Esports Network. Here they are on screen for the final round of the Skip Barber 2K World Cup for season 2019. Greg Seats winner with that. Well, I mean, phenomenal's an understatement. There needs to be a new word invented for that. That was an incredible ending. And he ends up in first. The podium included Leiber and Gurley. Has to be said, they all deserve the podium there, those three, because they kept in it in the remaining stages. For Diogo Francisco, he recovered on that final lap to the 4th position. But nevertheless, he'll be lamenting what could have been a possible race win had he stayed in the lead pack. For Anthony Catt, after the pit stops, he only remained in the top 5. For Ion de Frida, it was the start that cost him the most, and he ended up down in 6th. You can see the rest of the order on screen. Tuan Tran with that late spin only ended up 8th, and then rounding out the top 10 was Neil Kemp, 21 seconds behind your winner. Few other names throughout the field, of course. Scott Velez ended up 15th, rounding out the top 15. The old Rob Adams in the 13th position. James McRitchie, who was top 10 for most of the event, ended up in 16th. So something's gone wrong for him after the pit stop phase. Ronan Griffin, of course, a D and S, did not start for this event. So 18 cars started, 18 cars finished. Rare to see in sim racing. Good to see in sim racing here. So before we go, we have a lot of people to thank this afternoon. Of course, we thank everybody who contributed to the series over the course of this season, whether it was from the Skip Barber 2K World Cup, RaceSpot Tour TV, or even iRacing. But these 150 horsepower big boy go-karts, as they're called, will be back racing again on the 15th of September. That will be in a couple of weeks' time as they begin season 14 of the Skip Barber 2K World Cup around Summit Point Raceway. Thanks, of course, to DES Simulation for their support of the season. And as Randy Cheneth just said, Greg Seats today, our winner, did a sensational job. I could say that without breaking a laugh. That's a great word to describe it. The next season will be broadcasted on RaceSpot TV, streaming live on the iRacing Esports Network. For more information on the series, visit the 2kworldcup.com website at 2kworldcup.com and get in on the action. Don't forget to visit iRacing.com and, of course, RaceSpot.tv for more information on upcoming events. Thanks to you viewers, of course, for joining us here on this European evening. From myself, Jonathan Simon, Randy Cheneth in production, Gary Weaver was my co-commentator alongside me. This was a RaceSpot TV presentation with our champion, Philippe Leiber, crowned, of course. We say so long from Suzuka. We'll see you at Summit Point in a couple of weeks' time.